My alarm blares into my ears, only to be swiftly silenced by my fist. My body switches into auto mode, carrying my subconscious self out of bed and into my uniform. As always, my bottles of pills sit on my desk patiently, waiting for me to take them and pick up my daily dosage of medicine, 17 pills a day. Before I know it, I'm opening the door to Class 3-3, glad to see that I'm not the only one who seems to be a little hungover from festival week. Every face in the classroom looks gaunt. With the festival now over, it's as if everyone's life dreams have been achieved. With nothing left to live for, the students have relied on instincts alone to guide them to class. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. I slowly make my way to my seat, and it's only then that I realize why the room is so peaceful. The seats beside mine are blissfully empty. The world's loudest interpreter for the deaf has yet to arrive. Just as I am about to sit down, the door flies open, revealing a resplendent Misha, drills bobbing from the dramatic entrance and arms stretched toward the sky. Wahoo! It's all over! It would appear that not everyone is affected by the post-festival depression. The rest of the class glare at her, obviously thinking the same thing I am. Misha, still frozen in the doorway with her arms still in the air, nervously looks around. It's obvious that she senses the foul mood, but can't work out exactly what to do. Suddenly, she jerks forward. Hey! As she stumbles into the classroom, she reveals Shizune, arms still extended from where she shoved Misha. Shizune signs. Thanks for the entertainment, I say, but shouldn't you two take your seats? She continues. Still slightly embarrassed, Misha takes a few seconds to realize she has to translate. Oh, yeah, Shi-chan says she's not happy with you ditching us last week. We were really busy. Is that so, I say? What about the stuff I already did for you two? Shizune signs. She says that only counts for council members. Since you declined, she doesn't owe you anything. Misha leans closer and whispers conspiratorially into my ear. Actually, I think she's just a little sore that you didn't spend the day with her. She's really thankful for your work last week, though. Sensing that she's being talked about, Shizune lightly wraps her fingers on the desk until Misha turns around to face her. I can't understand any of the fast-paced signing that's going on, but from Shizune's slightly embarrassed expression and Misha's poorly contained laughter, I can guess. While this exchange is happening, the door opens again, but this time at a much more reasonable pace. Hanako quietly enters the room and pulls the door closed behind her. Peering out from under her hair, she quickly scans the classroom. Our eyes meet, and she suddenly stiffens. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and then walks over to my desk. Good morning, Hisao. Morning, Hanako. You're a little late, aren't you? I was talking to Lily. About today. Ah, so you've got to her list then. We can leave straight after class in that case. Sure, she says. I'm looking forward to it, I tell her. Hanako briefly flashes her embarrassed smile at me and then hurries off to her seat. During classes, it becomes apparent that it's not only the students that are a little despondent after the festival. Muto simply gives us a list of exercises from the textbook and then sits behind his desk. I totally forget about the brief lunch period for a moment, such as the banality of the day. It's mind-numbing, and everyone seems surprised when the bells signal the end of lessons. As I'm packing up my bag, Shizune and Misha flank and entrap me. Seihi-chan, it's still not too late to join up. There's a lot of post-festival paperwork for us to complete. Sorry, Misha, I tell her. I've got plans. As if sensing the cue, Hanako appears behind me, holding a small bag and trying to avoid eye contact with the outside world. Misha's eyes open wide and she bursts into laughter. Bah! You move fast, don't you, Hichan? We won't disturb your date any further. Behind the roaring Misha, I see Shizune taking far too little interest in the scene. I might be taking this the wrong way, but I think she's deliberately ignoring me. I feel a gentle tug on my shirt and turn to see Hanako's eyes fixed firmly on the floor. Let's... Got you. Shizune, Misha, I'll see you later. And I'm still not interested in the council. Spoil sport! Misha and Shizune retreat into the hallway, happily signing to each other. Got all your stuff, I ask. Let's head off. Floods of students pour out of the school gates and onto the road into town. It's a little weird. It's almost a scene from any other high school, but the illusion fades because of the occasional wheelchair or missing limb. One thing I do notice is that nobody is alone. And as Hanako and I pass through the gates, I notice that she closes the distance between us. Not enough to be considered close, but she certainly isn't at her usual just a little far position. I guess we're not familiar enough for her to get as close as she does with Lily. However, even though she has moved a little closer to me physically, mentally she seems to have traveled a mile. Her hands clutched around the leather straps of her bag to the point of whitening her knuckles, her head down and her mouth pursed closed. She almost looks like she's being walked to the principal's office for the first time. I try to stifle a giggle at the thought, but it's futile. Well, what's the matter? She asks. I guess there's no point in hiding it. Sorry, I say. For a second there, it looked like you were getting into trouble. What do you mean? I think you need to relax a little, I say. We're not going too far, and it's only students around, right? Right. It bothers me a little to see Hanako so worked up. And you do this every week, don't you? I tell her. Yes, with Lily. Of course, with Lily. I wonder, has she ever left the school without her? It doesn't seem like much at first glance, but Hanako's dependence on Lily is absurdly heavy. If she can't even handle leaving the school without her, how would she have managed to survive if the two had never met? Would she have found someone else to latch on to? And what drew her to Lily? Was it her lack of eyesight, or was Lily just kind enough to lend a hand? I wonder if anyone would have fit the bill. Well, I'm here, I say. Besides, we're not going far. It'll be over before you know it. Hanako's knuckles slowly regain their color. She tries to hide a small smile, but the effort of that seems to prevent further conversation. We travel side by side down the winding road toward the town. The crowd of students thins as we continue along the sidewalk. Faster students rush ahead and the less mobile ones fall behind, rarefying the crowd into nothingness. By the time we reach the convenience store, we're practically alone. Using me as a shield between herself and the attendant, Hanako moves through the narrow aisles, adding an assortment of items to her basket. Bread, milk, tea, thyme? What kind of a convenience store sells herbs? Then again, nothing about this town seems normal, which may not be such a bad thing in retrospect. Everything is so different and uncomfortable. Dwelling on such matters isn't really an option. When I think about that, it reminds me of Hanako. No matter how much you try, you can't escape her scars. They still interrupt my train of thought when I see them. As much as I don't want to admit it to myself, I think I'm forcing myself to try to ignore them. Not that I'm scar-free myself. The jagged line down my sternum will never completely fade away. I just have the luxury of being able to hide it easily. But, in a way, both of our scars remind me that we're all in this place for a reason. Hanako throws one last item into her basket, then sheepishly holds it out to me, along with a few banknotes. Could you please? It takes me a second to understand what she's trying to say. Oh, you want me to pay for this? She nods but doesn't look up. I guess this task falls to Lily on the usual occasions. Sure, let me just grab a couple of things, I tell her. Hastily, I grab a few essentials for myself and head for the counter with Hanako in close tow. The attendant gives me an indifferent nod as he scans in the items. I suppose just ignoring us is one way to deal with the anomalies of Yamaku. They must get a lot of students here, being the closest store to the school. The staff must all have their own way of dealing with us, or maybe they don't. Maybe it's only me who thinks twice about my unique schoolmates. Our transaction complete, Hanako and I head out back into the street. The road is pretty much abandoned now. The students that were heading out have already left, and nobody has started returning just yet. And with only the school ahead on the road, there doesn't seem to be anyone else around. The emptiness certainly reflects on Hanako, her arms by her side, each carrying a bag, her head no longer bowed, and back to the upright position. It's almost as if she were enjoying this walk. I ask her, so why all these weird things? Mixed spice? Why would you need that in school? I sometimes like to make food, she says. Well, yeah, so do I, but spices? That's a little more advanced, don't you think? Not really, she says. Well, I think it's cool. You'll have to teach me one day. Sure, she says. She doesn't seem all that sure, but pushing the point doesn't seem all that wise. At the very least, she seems a great deal happier than she did on the walk down here. That alone makes me a little happier. Outside the girls' dorm, Hanako and I sort out the grocery bags with our respective purchases. In comparison, my things look positively plain. I tell you, I say, you're putting me to shame here. No, I'm not. I'm only joking, I tell her. I have a stack of homework that I skipped last week, so I must leave now. Will you be all right getting that to your room, I ask her. Yeah. Sure? Okay then. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, she says. We part ways and I return to my room. Piles of papers sit upon my desk, begging to be completed. With the entire ruckus of the last week, I've barely had any time to catch up. I tried to keep up with my studies while I was in the hospital, but some of this stuff I've never seen before, even back in my old school. Totally unprepared, I pop the top on a can of drink and get to work. The days are really starting to heat up. This morning I woke covered in sweat. By the time the student body starts leaving their dorms for breakfast and morning duties, the sun has taken full effect. Oddly, that puts me in high spirits. It's not even 8, yet I feel that this day is going to be one of those pleasant, tranquil, warm ones. If I weren't at a school that considered every absence from class as a sign of a life-threatening situation, I'd consider skipping the whole day and just relaxing in the school gardens. Yes, today will be a genuinely lazy day. For a second, I stop in mid-stretch and consider the nurse's warning about exercise. Maybe I should have kept up those morning jogs. Running with someone like Emmy might have been a little testing, but if I worked at my own pace... who am I kidding? I couldn't stick to something like that without some kind of motivation. It's not like I sit around all day. The walk to and from the convenience store counts as exercise, right? Especially the walk back up the hill. Yeah, it's no big deal. Compared to months lying in a hospital bed, I'm getting plenty exercise. It seems that I'm not alone in my appreciation of the day. Nearly every member of the class is glancing through the window and into the tantalizing sky. Even the steadfast Shizune seems to lack her usual vigor for schoolwork. Misha, as brazen as ever, has even unbuttoned the top buttons of her shirt and is fanning herself with a notebook. I must have been staring, as she's now sticking her tongue out at me. However, she shows no signs of halting her efforts, nor is she trying to hide the fact. The lunch bells seem to catch everyone by surprise, and the class empties at a much slower pace than usual. The heat seems to be draining the need to rush from everyone. Well, almost everyone. Hisao? Hanako asked me. Hey there, Hanako. What can I do for you today? Hanako already has a lunch bag in hand. I don't have to be a detective to work out where this is going. Would you like to have lunch with us again? I brought enough for everyone. Awesome, I tell her. You don't have to be so stiff about it, though. Right. I take it we're going to the tea room. Please? Lily said she'll meet us in there, so we should, I say? Should go ahead together. Sounds like a plan. This heat has made me pretty hungry, I tell her. Hanako breathes a sigh of relief, and I gather my things together. As usual, the aura of the tea room is refreshing, feeling isolated from the rest of the world. Then again, the usual din of the school seems to be a little subdued, most likely from laziness promoted by heat exhaustion. Hanako slowly spreads her food on the table, intently focusing on every little movement as if she's trying to keep her mind off other thoughts. It's not much, but I can tell from her demeanor that she has prepared everything with utmost care. I ask her, I guess Lily isn't here yet. Should we start without her? She'll be here soon, Hanako answers. Hanako struggles with the lid of the container of rice. Here, let me help you with that. I take the container from Hanako's hands and try to force open the lid. Try as I might, it seems wedged shut. I ask her, let me guess, did you put this in while the rice was still hot? Yes, she says. I was in a rush. I put the container on the table between us. I thought so, I say. It looks like this is wedged shut. We'll need some hot water to get it open. But that could be a pain in here. We'd get water everywhere. Well, in that case, a voice says from the door, how about I contribute to today's meal? At the door, Lily smiles while holding up a bag stocked with various buns and bread rolls. I can't help but do the same. Since you two had a change of plans because of me, I thought I would bring a little something, she says. Thanks, Lily. Here, let me get that for you. With a little guidance, Lily's bread assortment joins Hanako's riceless platter. I hastily make some tea to complete the picture. Well, I say, I'm looking forward to this. As I take a bite, I notice Hanako trying her hardest to not look like she's looking at me. It's nothing special, but then again, I can't really complain. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to cooking for myself. Not bad, I say. I guess this is made with the stuff you bought yesterday. Yes, she says. Hanako's eyes shout at me, begging for some kind of feedback. Well, it was clearly worth it, I say. Thanks, Hanako. I wanted to show you this, she says, after yesterday. It's okay, I say. I was just a little surprised at the stuff you were buying. Hanako's always liked to experiment when it comes to food, Lily says. I think it's good. Most of the time. While Lily's smile doesn't waver, the slight change in her tone tells me that things have not gone so well in the past. And it's not like Hanako has many people to sample her cooking. Hang on. Was Lily waiting for me to go first? She didn't start eating until after I said it was all right. Her cheeky grin tells me that this was a deliberate action on her part. I'll have to try and work out how to get one over on her in the future to make up for this. Well, it's good, and that's all that counts, right? Right, Hanako says. Lily, satisfied at not being the first to sample Hanako's creation, begins to consume the food in front of her. I find myself staring as I watch her chopsticks gently touch the plate, their tips delicately poking and tracing to quickly ascertain the positions of the food as he dexterously picks it up. One might think she was a child playing with her food if not for the situation, though she does it with such care and thoughtlessness that it's obvious that this is simply how she eats this kind of meal. Not wanting to miss out, I start filling up myself. Hanako takes a different approach, waiting until Lily and I have our hands clear before quickly snatching up her share. Before long, the containers are empty, save for the still-shut rice container. Thank you, Hanako. That was filling, Lily says. No, thank you for the bread. Yes, I say, it would have been a disaster if not for that. You're both welcome. But now, I must be getting back. It's far too easy to be late after eating here. Yeah, I say, I see what you mean. I think we'll just clean up here and then head off. Well then, Lily says, good day. Lily leaves, her cane tapping away down the quiet hallway. Hanako and I quickly pack our things and stay seated, waiting for the bell. Together, we stare out the window and into the endless azure sky. If it weren't for the pealing of the bells, I would have sworn that time had stopped. The urge to skip class rises in my gut. I shoot a glance at Hanako, who shows no signs of moving either. Not just yet, she says. Okay, first off, an apology. I had rebooted my computer yesterday, and I had not done that for a while. And whenever I did, I forgot that resets all the sound levels on my mic and everything. So the sound was clipping quite a bit during that. I was getting way too big of a signal coming in. So the sound, the voice anyway, is a little fuzzy and all, not quite as good as it should have been. But the day starts, we make our way through the day and head down to the convenience store with Hanako, taking the place of Lily. We manage to get her to relax a bit, and she seems to be a little bit more comfortable and all walking with us. The store goes well, except that we then question her on what she's buying because she's got allspice and thyme. Apparently being the ramen noodle and instant miso soup type of person, it's obvious that we can't fathom why anyone would have things to make food that would require more than just throwing it in the microwave and heating it up. So the next day, Hanako comes over to our desk unexpectedly during the lunch period of class and asks if we want to go and have lunch with her, and obviously Lily, of course. We head that way with her, and behind us we kind of get the impression that from both the things that Misha said earlier about Shizune really being upset that we didn't spend the festival with her, And the fact that she seems to be just utterly ignoring us, taking far too little interest in the scene, that we might have a little jealousy going on there. Maybe a little jealousy, maybe a little bit of, as I've said before, Shizune just hates to lose, and she feels that she's losing a competition to Hanako, perhaps. So we go to the tea room and we have our lunch of the whatever it is. They never really say. They talk about the rolls and they talk about the rice, but they never actually say what it was that Hanako cooked to go with it. But it turns out successful. It's quite nice. Although Lily does warn us in a kind of a roundabout way that not everything that Hanako perhaps experiments with cooking always turns out for the best. But this does, and as the lunch ends, Lily goes off to class, and Hanako and I sit there staring out the window at the sky, with Hanako deciding she doesn't want to go back to class, not just yet. She wants to sit there and just kind of enjoy sitting there. Maybe sitting by us? Who knows? Anyway, we'll see how things go whenever we continue this in the next episode.